This episode of the Outline Podcast is brought to you by Audible. The listeners of this show can get a 30-day free trial and a credit towards an audiobook by going to www.audibletrial.com/outlinepod or just click the link in the show notes. Let's start it up.
Yeah. The Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. Yeah. The Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. The Outline. With Kevin Dwayne. This is the Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne with Kevin Dwayne.
All right, y'all about to get some Quiet Storm vibes on this episode. It's thundering and lightning outside. Atlanta is mad weird in the summer, but the show must go on. So you're going to hear a lot of noise in the background, but don't mind it. It's like you're here with me and whatnot. But I hope you're having a great week. I'm having a pretty decent week as well. This is the Outline Podcast. I am Kevin Dwayne, and thank you so much for joining me for show 98. In 2 weeks, we will be doing episode 100. I have to find a way to make that special, but I'm kind of out of ideas. Like, I don't even know what to do for the 100th episode. I can't believe there's 100 episodes. And on top of that, the 100th episode falls on the same week as the 2-year anniversary. So it's like a double celebration. Wow. Like, I still remember going to buy the mic to do this show. And it blows my mind that it's been 2 years. Oh my God. And like, many of you have been listening to me this entire time. I know I've gotten new fans along the way, but I thank you all nonetheless. Like, it's so dope to be on this side of it. Like, all the opinions and all the guests I've had and all, like, everything. Hell, all the things that I've changed my mind about since starting this show and the growth that has happened is all very amazing. But I'll save a lot of the sentiment for that show. But nonetheless, thank you for joining me this week. I just got in from seeing Incredibles 2, and all I can say is Jack is my favorite, and I need a movie with just him or a short with just him, but I'm not about to wait 14 years for it because by that time I'd be 47 and who has the time? But Incredibles 2 was really, really entertaining. Shout out to DeVeezy for getting me out the house and having a good time, and we laughed and joked and do what we're learning to do with each other, and I think it's pretty awesome. So go see Incredibles 2. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Last week on the show, I talked about my weddings and how I'd be relieved when they're over. Well, guess what? They're done. Both weddings went well. Had a great time. Got a lot of pictures in. Like, I have like over 2,000 pictures on my computer that I need to work through and sort and figure out and all that good stuff. But the weddings went great. I had one on Friday and one on Saturday. The one on Friday, was really, really dope, but it was funny because I rented, and I'm so glad that I thought to do this. I rented equipment for the second wedding on Saturday because I had a second shooter. Shout out to Mwabi, who's been on the show. She was my second shooter. She did a great job. So I ordered this camera, and I didn't realize I ordered the old edition of it. So all my photographers who listen to the show, I ordered a Canon 7D. I meant to order a Canon 7D Mark III, but I ended up ordering just a Canon 7D. Like, and it came out, like, it was like out like in 2010 or something like that. So just picture it. I pick up this camera, right? I'm like, cool. I pick it up the morning of the first wedding. I'm like, great. Since I have the second camera, I'll use both of them at this wedding since I'm solo shooting, and then I don't have to worry about changing lenses. I can just change cameras and do multiple snaps and just do all this on my own. That was the original plan. So I pick up the camera at 10 o'clock. I have to be at the venue at 12:30. I come back home, I eat, I change, I go to the venue. So I'm in my car. I have a brand new SD card and I'm putting the batteries in it. I'm getting the external flash ready. I'm putting the lens on. I go to put the SD card in the 7D and it doesn't fucking take SD cards. It takes a compact flash. So I had a minor moment of like, what the fuck? But I was like, okay, I'm grateful that I'm looking at this now and not tomorrow morning for the second wedding because I have a second shooter and I wouldn't have had time to even find a compact flash. So I look at it as a blessing because I'm like, okay, at least I can go sometime tonight or early in the morning to get this compact flash. But where do I find one? So I proceed with the wedding. And the first wedding was beautiful, awesome, beautiful couple, lots of great pictures, lots of photos, a really, really good time. So I finished that up about 10 p.m. on the dot, really. It was around 10 o'clock that I left and I was in my car. I remember my feet were hurting and I was so fucking tired, but it went well and I was relieved. So on my way home, I was like, you know what? Walmart is open. I'm going to go to Walmart and find this compact flash. So I go to Walmart. They don't have any compact flashes. Now, part of me feels like I shouldn't have went to Walmart that night. I should just wait the next morning and just went to Best Buy or Fry's or some other store that actually specialized in like technology. Because by me going to Walmart and not seeing a compact flash there, it set in a weird kind of anxiety that I wouldn't find it the next day. And that was bringing on a minor panic because I'm like, I have a second shooter and my second shooter needs a camera. And what will I do if I'm unable to do it? So I had this kind of like, oh shit, this is not a good look. But nonetheless, I went to bed because I was tired, but then I woke up at like 4 in the morning and then all that anxiety kind of came back again. So I end up hopping on my computer, going on Best Buy and Fry sites and looking at their inventory. Because sometimes when you place orders, it'll let you know if you can pick it up in store. And if you can pick it up in store the same day, chances are it's in inventory in their stores. So I saw that Best Buy had a couple in their stock, the one near me. And then I also saw that Fry's had a couple in their stock. And Fry's opened up at 9 a.m., whereas Best Buy opened up at 10 a.m. And Robbie was coming to my house at 10:30, and we had to be at the hotel of the bride and groom at 11:30. So I was against a very tight scale. So I woke up, I showered, I got myself together. And I went to Fry's first. So I went to Fry's. I go to the camera section. I don't see any memory cards like SD or anything. So I ended up walking around and they had just opened up at 9 a.m. So there weren't a lot of people there kind of to help. So I'm just looking around. I can't see anything. So I finally asked this lady that I see and she's like, oh, I don't really know. She's like, so she sends me to someone else in the computer section. And so I asked him for it. He's like, wow, compact flash. He's like, wow, they don't really make those like that anymore, but let's see. So he takes me to the memory section and they have SD cards and they don't have any compact flashes. And I'm just like, are you serious? Oh, that was a perfect. Come through, Thunder. Come through with the sound effects because that was perfect timing. But I was like, are you serious? Like, so I'm panicking a little bit. So he's like, well, let me search in the computer. As we're walking back towards the computer, he sees one on the shelf. He's like, oh, we have one. I was like, I will fucking take it. I don't even care. Just give it to me. He's like, okay. So he checks the price and he finds the best price online because Fry's does price matching. He's like, okay, cool. I can give it to you for 22. I'm like, whatever. Cool. So I went ahead and bought it, came back home, put in the camera, found out the camera works just fine. While we got to me, we went to the hotel and that was all she wrote. We had a great day shooting the wedding. We got some really beautiful shots. There was some difficulty at the church. And what I mean by that is the church we got to was really, really strict. I wasn't aware of this beforehand, but still made it work. When we got there, the wedding coordinator was like, okay, so come to find out, this church is really, really strict and they have a lot of rules that you have to abide by. So we couldn't be in the aisles as the photographers that were hired to do the wedding. We could not be in the aisles. When the bride was out there, we couldn't be near the pulpit. We couldn't be on the pulpit. Like, it was really interesting. So they put me in the choir stand in the balcony. So basically all my pictures are at a bird's eye view. And it worked out because I had a pretty solid zoom lens. And then Wabi, she stayed in the lobby area, and what she did was she captured everyone as they were coming into the sanctuary. So we were able to double team and get the shots that we needed. Now there are some intimate shots we had to go without, but that's not our fault. So it is what it is. Like, that's the church that they chose, and it just is what it is. But it was interesting. And then, like, halfway through the ceremony, maybe not even halfway through, my phone starts ringing and the wedding coordinator is like hitting me up, asking me to turn my flash off. And I wanted to ignore him so badly and just take the pictures anyway. But I was like, let me be respectful. So then I had to switch my settings up again so I could shoot in low light. And see, this is where the skills come in of being a photographer. So I'm going to go ahead and shade you all a little bit. There's a lot of people out here who just go out and buy cameras and think they're photographers, and they're fucking not. Until you know how to shoot in manual and know how to move with the flow, you ain't doing shit, bro. You ain't doing shit. If you don't know how to switch up from using light to no light and still get quality pictures, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, sir. So I went ahead, changed my settings so I could shoot in low light, still got some great photos, and that was all she wrote. Me and Wabi knocked that shit out, went to reception. The reception was cool, chill, and we were done with that by 9, and it was a good look. So those weddings are done. I think both couples are happy. I have tons of editing to do to get the shit done, but it's gonna be done in no time, and super relieved and super relaxed and really I'm feeling really accomplished. And also, I love the support that my friends give me. I love that so many people support the vision and are willing to drop their own plans to come and help me with mine. And that means a lot to me. So that was super awesome. So over the weekend, a couple things happened. Number one, Teyana Taylor's album came out. I didn't get a chance to hear it until Sunday. I know that people like love to share their opinions with me, and I think it's because of my platform. I understand it. So people like to come to me as I guess like, oh, I want to tell you how I feel about it, because I guess they think I'm going to discuss it with them or debate them or whatever. But I like to let people's opinions be their opinions. But for the most part, everyone was telling me that they didn't like the album, and they thought it was a disappointment. It just wasn't what they wanted it to be. And I'm just like, okay, interesting. Now, I didn't really have any expectations for Teyana Taylor, but I did have anticipation to hear the album and see what she was giving, since she's like on a hype right now. So I listened to the album on Sunday. On first listen, I thought to myself, this isn't as bad as people are making it sound. But I did understand that it was underwhelming, because I also thought it was underwhelming. I'm like, okay, I think I get it. Now, I saw people go as far as saying that the album was trash, and I feel like that's very unfair to art. I don't believe anything can be hot or cold, and a lot of times people like to either say something is excellent, phenomenal, a smash, or they'll be like, oh, it's trash, but they never allow for any actual discussion or nuance, and I think that's very unfair to artists. You gotta do more, you gotta give more and respect it. These people don't go in the studio with the intent to give you disappointing music. They go in there thinking that the music sounds good and is going to be pleasing. And if it's not, I mean, it is what it is. It's relative. So on first listen, what I kind of thought to myself was like, okay, she sounds great. The lyrics are cool. The production is cool. Like, it's Kanye West. Like, it's cool production. Now, what I think it is a lot of the songs sound like album fillers. It sounds like, so if you had like a really solid R&B album, a lot of those songs sound like the songs that will be in between the fire ass tracks. They're not bad songs at all. There was no songs that I wanted to skip. They were good. It's just that there were no apparent singles on the album. at all. So you're just like, okay, like it's a bunch of album fillers, but she sounds really really good, and I enjoy it. I think it's cool. Like I really really enjoy it. I like Hurry. I like Gonna Love Me, um WTP. I mean, for the sheer cuntiness of it all. But I enjoy it. Yes, it is very very short. That's something else I had to talk about on Facebook. People have been criticizing artists for having much shorter albums now, and I think people feel like is the artist just being lazy, but you have to know this isn't true. Most artists record hundreds, I mean hundreds of songs to put together an album, and then they create a feel for it. No one's out here just recording 6 to 8 songs and saying, okay, that's enough. No, they have plenty, but there's so many metrics and so many people that have to be paid per song. You have engineers, you have writers, you have producers, sometimes you have people in a band, you have background singers. There's so many factors. You have to pay for the studio time, royalties. There's so many things. And the reason why many shorter albums are happening now is a direct response to streaming culture. Most people get their music from a streaming site now. The Spotify, Tidal, Google Play Music, Apple Music, just go down the list. Milk. Is Milk still out? I know that was the big Android one. I'm not sure if it's still out, but most people get their music from streaming. And it's foolish to think that paying $10 a month for an entire database somehow pays each and every artist. You guys have to be a little wiser than this. So it's so crazy that when people list individual albums, people act as though they actually paid for that album and they didn't pay for it. So if you're not getting paid for a full-length album, why even give a full-length album? Yes, there's people who are still in it for the sake of the art. Absolutely. There's people who want to just do it for art. But at the same time, they're trying to make money because that's the bottom line. Especially if they're on a record label. The record label wants to get the most output for the least input. They don't want to put a lot of money out and not get a return for it. So let's release this 8-track album that has a lot of singles on it, not including Teyana Taylor, but I'm talking more like Bruno Mars in the case where he released this album that was short, but it was filled with singles. And let's just go on tour and make money off of touring, merchandise, and endorsements. That's where the money is. And the music business is just that, a business. They care about you loving the art and enjoying it, but at the end of the day, it's about getting money and getting paid. And it's unfair to compare these artists and what they're going through now to those of the 80s and the 90s because the landscape is different. You cannot consume music the way you are today and expect to get the same quality that artists gave you in the 80s and 90s because we're not paying into it for them to do that. You have to be damn near rich and like put your own money into it to get the quality that people are demanding. And yes, there's still some solid artists out here doing their damn thing, but it doesn't come easy. But it also falls into the idea that many fans are just too damn entitled. We don't own artists, you guys. We don't own them. So I always crack up when people have these arguments about when celebrities are out in public and they don't want to sign autographs. They don't fucking owe you an autograph. They don't owe you anything. Let me tell you something. When an artist releases music, if you purchase the music, that's what you get. You're entitled to what you actually purchase. If you have an album of someone, that album that you have, that's yours. That's what you possess. You do not possess the person. So if you see them out in public and they don't say hi to you or they're not in the mood to sign your autographs, oh fucking well, you don't own that person. And we have this weird idea of celebrity like, well, I buy your stuff so you can at least be nice. But also, how many motherfuckers do they see all day? And I think people feel like a celebrity goes out and they see like 2 people and that's just it, when in reality is hundreds of people asking for the same shit. At a certain point, you're going to be annoyed by it. So it's just an interesting look that people have. But that's not even the point I'm making. Fans have just become too entitled. You get what you get, and you can't tell someone what their art should be. You just can't. So if an artist wants to change their sound, they're going to change their sound. If they keep it the same, they're going to keep it the same. It's their art. It's how they want to express themselves. Because I damn sure don't want any of you motherfuckers telling me how I should do my podcast. I just don't. Unless I ask you. If there's a feedback survey, sure. Go ahead and give me that feedback. If you leave it on Apple Music, cool. Totally fine. I'll see it and be like, oh, that's cool. But that doesn't mean I have to change the shit. I still have a way that I want to do things because it's my creativity, it's my work. And so ultimately, you get what you get. The shorter albums, it seems to be a trend right now, but it's a direct result of how we consume music. Also, people aren't really listening to full albums with. At least the music buying people aren't listening to albums they used to. Because of streaming, we don't listen to full albums. We skim the album, we figure out what songs we like the best, we purchase or listen to those only, and we make those chart. As far as the other ones, whatever, no one plays them. So this is why a lot of people aren't being as cohesive anymore with their music. So many things to consider, but definitely look into that because I'm seeing many complaints about why albums are so short, and that's why. It's how you're consuming it. You cannot believe that you paying your $9.99 a month is actually putting a dent in anything except the pockets of the people who own the streaming services. So, yeah. Something else that happened over the weekend, the BET Awards. I had a lot of notes for this, but as I think about it, I realize I don't want to go that detailed into it because I'm sure by now you've seen plenty of pieces on it. But I will say a few things. Number one, I watch the BET Awards every year because I just want BET to win. BET gets so much negativity from Black people, mostly because they're always comparing it to white networks. And what I hate the most about that is you're comparing a channel that doesn't have that much privilege to channels that do have privilege. The funds are different, the money's different, the staff is different. There's so many differences where the standards, everything's just different. And so I always support the show every year, but I do admit that it does seem to be getting worse and worse as the years go on. I started off with the pre-show. The pre-show was crazy. There was a part where Terrence J and Cassie were interviewing, they were interviewing Tank and his wife. Well, his wife was with him. And security jumped in front of the camera to tell people that they couldn't stand there, and they literally blocked the interview. And Terrence was like, hey, we're doing an interview right here. And the cop was like, well, we got to do this, blah, blah. And they had to cut it. And I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those years. Okay, cool. So then the show begins. The main show begins. What I found different is every year, if you've noticed, usually there's an opening act. Like before anything happens, before the announcements, there's usually a surprise guest. Kind of like a couple years ago when Beyonce came out and did Freedom with Kendrick Lamar. Years before that, you had like the Fugees who came out. Who else has opened up the show before? There's been so many huge openers of the BET Awards. This year, that didn't happen. It literally just opened up with MC Lyte telling you who was going to be on it. And I was like, oh shit, have we gone down this far that we don't have opening acts anymore? Because I think, wasn't it Bruno Mars last year? I think it was Bruno Mars last year. But yeah, like, it was like, what? So I was like, damn, instantly my mind was like, this is going to be a rough show. It is going to be a rough show. So then they announced Jamie Foxx. So Jamie Foxx walks down the middle aisle with a fucking stuffed Black Panther. And then J-Rock is on the stage performing Win. And I love that song, by the way. I love J-Rock. J-Rock is my current rap obsession at the moment. Like, I love his album, Redemption. It's really, really good. But he performs Win. And I'm like, okay. And so they have this whole segment about Black Panther. It was really awkward because Jamie Foxx was improvising for most of the show, but he was making people uncomfortable. Like, he called Michael B. Jordan up, and Michael B. Jordan's like, what the fuck do you want? And the same thing happened later in the show with Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover. He pulled Donald Glover on the stage, and Donald Glover looked irritated when Jamie Foxx first started talking about him, like, what the fuck? And you could tell that the show was just being improvised the whole time. He saw Nicki Minaj later on in the show, and then he started talking to her randomly. She was like, wait, what? It was a weird kind of thing. He wasn't terrible, but it was just a weird flow throughout. The very few highlights of the show that I can even list were Janelle Monáe did a phenomenal job. Her performed, and her sounds familiar. She sounds amazing, phenomenal, which are very popular adjectives that I like to use, apparently. She sounded great. She sounds so good. One of my favorite performances of the night, honestly. The Anita Baker tribute was amazing. I really, really enjoyed that. Outside of Jamie Foxx spending more time than he needed to singing her songs. I mean, it was cool. Jamie Foxx can sing, but I feel like he spent way too much time with that tribute. I'm like, yeah, can we move on to other people, please? This is weird. Let's see. Was there anything else that stood out? Janelle Monáe, her, the Anita Baker tribute, Nicki Minaj. I really want to like this era. I really want to, but I don't know. I feel like she's all over the place. And after that interview she did with, I think it was Elle magazine, talking about sex workers and shaming them, I'm having a hard time figuring out her performance on BET, because she performed her song Rich Sex, which is pretty much talking about prostitution. And then she's like, on stage spreading her legs and doing all this crazy shit. And here's the thing. I don't have an issue with her doing that. I have an issue with her contradicting her very words in that interview while singing a song about selling your body for good shit and also busting it wide open on stage. It's weird. And I understand separating a person from their art and blah, 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 blah. But the shit is just fucking weird. And I'm just like, okay. I did kind of like the Big Bang segment though. That was dope because I love YG and Big Sean and all them. And I like that song. And her outfit was cute. So that was that. But yeah, other than that, the show was very weird, very odd, very interesting decisions. Like, for instance, Ella Mai, Booed Up has like 95 million streams right now on YouTube. It's like the biggest R&B smash right now. But somehow she got relegated to the Nissan stage. What? Why isn't she on the main stage? Like, what the entire fuck is going on there? Like, the show was weird. It was very underwhelming. Nothing really to write home about, to say the least. It was just like, okay, I mean, I don't really know where they're gonna go from here. I feel like major stars aren't coming to the show anymore. They don't have grand openings anymore, and there was really no water cooler moments this year. It was like, damn, like, it was really, really, really underwhelming. And after that I watched Pose, which I don't want to talk about Pose every week, but I can't help it. It's an amazing show. And this week they dealt with HIV and AIDS in a real way, and it just shows you where we started and where we've come to in present time. But what's concerning me the most about Pose are the ratings. I've been seeing the ratings and they're very, very low. And it makes me very, very discouraged that we aren't watching the show. And by we, I mean gay people, black people, and people who don't really want to get into ball culture and trans rights and things like that. But what we're not understanding is Pose is literally including everyone, and it's not about just the ballroom scene. It's not about just the trans community. Like, it's about everyone who's been affected by all the things that have gone on since then, and I really want the show to have future seasons, and it has to continue. It's so good. Please watch it when it comes on. Stop missing Pose. Stop assuming you think you know what it is. It's actually a really, really good show, and it's so well done. And we need more seasons. So please support the show. Don't let it get cut off. Like, we need this representation. Please, please, please watch it. Although Janet Mock posted on her Twitter that episode 4 had the highest ratings of all. So more people are watching it. So let's just keep that trend going. It's such an amazing show. It's so good. But saw that, and yeah, that brings us to current times. So quickly before I get out of here, my message this week is all about worth. It's important that you always recognize your worth. This is in interpersonal relationships, this is in career, this is just in life, period. I think a lot of times we seek validation outside of us just to confirm that we are who we think we are. But what I think we need to do is to figure out who we are on our own, validate ourselves, and then go from there. That's when you know your worth, you charge for that amount, and you add tax. Add tax to that shit, plus tax. But I've had a couple scenarios, and I mean, honestly, just over time. But in the last week, I've been thinking about outside factors that try to challenge my worth. And it happens in so many ways. For example, in photography, you occasionally have a client who wants your creativity, they want your skill, they want your look, they want what you bring to the table, but they don't want to pay you what you actually charge. Now, I'm a person who I've learned that you don't negotiate. You don't negotiate. You say, this is what it is, and if you don't like it, so be it. And it will work because you are standing behind your worth. You don't have to explain shit. You don't have to change your tone or whatever. You just say, this is how much it costs. And that's just that. And when it comes to interpersonal relationships, whether it's friendships, relationships, lovers, and stuff like that, there has been times in my life where I felt like a layover to men. And what I mean by that is you'll meet men who either, like, I'll meet the guy who just got out of a relationship, or is, still in a very rebounding, not trusting type situation, and then they'll pretty much use me just for the comfort. You know what I mean? Like, let's just chill and you're cool or whatever. But for a while, I was never the one who got chosen to be in a relationship. Like, I was never the one that people want to commit to. And I got to a place where I'm like, yeah, no, fuck that. Nah, I'm good. Like, you're not about to use me while you heal or figure out what you want to do with your ex, or figure out like who you want to be with while reaping the benefits of just chilling with me. You know what I mean? It's a matter of knowing your worth. Even in like actual work, like if you're in corporate America, I know something that I deal with often is lip service. I deal with a lot of people who are constantly telling me how good I am and how I'm top talent, and and how, like, oh, I'm going to go so far, but it never really matches in my bank account. You know what I mean? Like, when those promotions come through, I'm not being, they're not being given to me. They're not, like, I'm not moving ahead in the way that people are talking about it. And this is like this idea of always kind of like, stepping back and just taking what you can get. And I'm like, yeah, no, know your worth, know what you're about, and always charge it. Charge that shit plus tax. Real talk. It's important. And don't allow these outside things to knock you off of your square. Stay on your square. If you internally validate yourself and know who you are and stick to that, you'll be fine. Do not allow outside things to sink your ship. That's actually a saying. I don't know who was by, but it said, a ship will only sink if you allow the outside water to get inside. But if you stay strong, and I'm totally paraphrasing this, but if you stay strong and keep outside water out, your ship won't sink. And that's why it's important to validate yourself, check your ego, of course, stay humble, but know who you are so nobody can try to tell you who you are. Figure that shit out and you'll be super, super good. And yeah, that's all I got. But thank you all for listening this week. Make sure you subscribe wherever podcasts are. Share with at least one friend. If you're listening to this show, do me a favor. Whatever your favorite line is, quote it and at me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or you can use the hashtag The Outline Podcast. But every listener of the show, please share with one of your friends, or just post to one of your pages and tag me. I would really, really appreciate it. That's how we get the show spread out. And we coming up on 100 episodes. Let's get some more people in here, so we can go and get another 100 in. Get to 200. Man, I cannot believe how fast time has gone by. But whatever. I don't want to hold you any longer. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I love you all. I'll talk to you all next week. Peace out.